Hey everyone, welcome back to the Promised Land podcast with me, Scott Saunders, doing something a little bit different today, going live actually just after the news that Ruben Amorim has told Alejandro Garnacho to leave Manchester United. Twitter's down as well, so nobody seems to really be. I haven't seen reaction to this yet, whether people are actually getting reaction to this yet, because it's been down for a few hours. But we have had confirmation from the man himself, David Ornstein, that Ruben Amorim has told the squad that he will be staying at Manchester United after saying just a couple of days ago after the Europa League final that he was willing to step aside, or if the club wanted him to go, that he would potentially be going. But obviously, United do need to keep a hold of Ruben Amorim, and what needs to happen here is fundamentally a change in the culture. So it seems like they haven't even wasted any time. So the report is from The Athletic and from David Ornstein. I'm streaming through a different platform at the moment, so I'm not in through YouTube itself, so I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to be able to pull this up. Different streaming client to what I usually use, and I don't go live very often either. So I just thought I'd try this out, given the news that was breaking, and I had a plan to do this anyway. But the report per David Ornstein: Ruben Amorim has informed his Manchester United squad he will remain in charge next season, while telling Alejandro Garnacho to find a new club. And I'm sure we've all known over the last few days that this was coming. We've known for the last few months probably that this was coming as well, because simply put, Ruben Amorim is looking at this Manchester United squad. He's not getting the most out of it. And the thing that he is fundamentally looking for is for his team of players to be putting everything into what they're doing. And simply put, he wants to build a team that is fundamentally playing for the team. And I think that Alejandro Garnacho's comments the other day maybe intimated a little bit that he doesn't really have the right attitude to succeed at Manchester United, even though we all know that, most of us know that he's got a hell of a lot of potential. It just seems like that there needs to be some kind of cultural reset here for Manchester United, for Ruben Amorim, and just because United are 16th in the league, they could finish 17th if they lose to Aston Villa tomorrow and Tottenham pick up a point or something like that. So it's not a good position for them to be in, but I just thought bring you a bit of a live stream. Get involved in the comment section. Ronnie Dodge says, "Afternoon, Scott. About time. We were ruthless. Good luck to Garnacho, but it also shows the attitude problems that he has, especially in his comments after the final." Lo Beho says, "Getting rid of all our wingers for this coach and his dead formation goes against the club's soul." I mean, there is an argument to say that that is the case, but at the same time, United have been trying to go with their traditions for the last few years, and ultimately it didn't really get them anyway. You have to retain some characteristics of what the club has had in the past, like playing youth, and they have done so with Garnacho, playing youth, playing exciting attacking football, which they just haven't done for a long time, and respecting the club's history, this kind of thing. But in terms of formations and playing styles, United have tried playing 4-3-3. They've tried playing 4-4-2. They've tried playing a bunch of different formations. And ultimately, every single manager that has come after Sir Alex Ferguson to this point has failed and has ended up being sacked. They have to try and change that way. They have to try, and for me, I think they have to put their faith in Ruben Amorim. And I think that the key to making sure that United actually turn a corner here is by addressing the culture first. I personally think that the cultural rot within this football club is the thing that is the common theme throughout every single manager that United have had over the last few years. So really difficult situation. But look, United haven't even they've got one game left, and they go on a postseason tour to Malaysia, I think it is, maybe tomorrow night or Monday. And they're not wasting any time. They are not wasting any time. And Ronnie's back in the comments here. Do you think getting Cunha does knock Garnacho down the pecking order and he wasn't happy? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that we do have, with the formation that Amorim is playing, it requires specialized roles. And obviously the two narrow 10s are, you see some players in this United team, you don't know who the natural fits are. But Garnacho, for me, is very much a winger who likes to cut in from the wider positions, cut inside, and like he prefers a striker to drop in deep and like exploit that space so he can actually attack and take shots, this kind of thing. The system that Ruben Amorim wants to play is completely different. And at the end of the day, we're struggling to find a lot of natural fits for what the system is. And I think Cunha will be probably, you can see exactly where he fits in this team. And I think that left 10 position is exactly where he will end up going. It's just a matter of time, I think, until that move actually is announced, because United are able to go ahead and, with the very little money they have, go ahead and pull that deal off before they will require sales at some point. I think Garnacho we were very, very aware in the January transfer window that Garnacho was very much up for sale. Napoli wanted him, Chelsea were interested as well, and United wanted 60 million quid. I think the highest offer that they got was 40 million. So look, it's the summer transfer window, and if they were getting offers like that in January and they're holding out for 60 million quid or something like that, there's plenty of time for that to happen over the course of the summer and for United to negotiate the best deal that they can. If you're watching and you haven't seen this channel before, this is the Promised Land podcast. You can actually find this podcast, which I am doing daily-ish at the moment. You can find it on Apple and Spotify. I'm releasing videos on YouTube most days as well. I'm terrible with thumbnails, this kind of thing, but it's going to be a long summer. It's going to be a really long summer. It's been a really long, difficult season for Manchester United as well. And at the end of the day, they're going to need to be really, really hella busy, really, really busy. And I think that's on the incomings and the outgoings. So I'll probably be here quite a lot of the time. So if you want to subscribe to the channel, please do that. You can subscribe on YouTube, like I say, Apple and Spotify as well. Get in the comment section. I'm seeing there's a few popping in. Get in the comment section. Let me know what you think. I'll do my best to get through all of the comments that come in. I haven't even done my hair here. But yeah, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe on Apple and Spotify as well, if you would please do so. And you want to hear things on the go. You want to listen on audio and you prefer not to watch, whatever. Please subscribe, like, and get in the comments, and hopefully tell your friends as well. Because what I'm tending to do here, for those who are joining, who are new or haven't seen this before, there's a lot of shouting and screaming. Not on this podcast. I try not to do that. And I think it's a really difficult time for United. It's a really difficult time. And there'll be some really unpopular decisions and difficult decisions to be taken over the course of the summer. We won't like them all. We absolutely won't like them all. And a few months ago, there would have been people absolutely fundamentally against selling Alejandro Garnacho. Perhaps there are some people that still are now, but United need, more than anything, they need to identify the source of the problem and fix it. And that will mean, I think, large turnover of players, to be honest. Ronnie says, again, I would take 55 million for Garnacho. Hacker, hey, mate. I think Romero Loki announced his leaving as well, talking about how he engraved his name at Spurs. Who talks like that unless you're gone? I think, yeah. Yeah, I think Romero hinted recently as well, didn't he, that he was potentially looking at moves elsewhere. Let's see, Ranabir Mitra. So glad to catch a live. Follow us since episode 1. Love how you've taken the channel forward. So thank you very, very much. I've never done a solo live before. I don't think so. This is something that I just thought, oh, screw it, just give it a go. I'm not sure what I'll do with the audio. I'll have to upload it afterwards. But I really appreciate the support from everybody. And we got a fair few watching at the moment. So please, if you've not seen the channel before, please subscribe. And we'll be talking about Garnacho and some of the issues at the moment that United have. And what he said the other day as well. I just need to dig up what he said after that final. Because it was not good, was it? I don't have the quotes in front of me here, but obviously it was reported a couple of days ago, or maybe yesterday, that Garnacho was increasingly likely to leave Manchester United in the summer. And he was named on the Europa League final bench. And I'm going to paraphrase him here because I don't have the quotes in front of me that I can find. But paraphrasing him. Oh, no, it turns out I've got them. Okay. So he said after the game on Wednesday night, because he was obviously named on the bench, which I think was widely expected, perhaps not widely agreed with, but I could see with Mason Mount getting back into the team and what he was doing, I could potentially see better impact from Garnacho, maybe off the bench. And that's the way that Ruben Amorim wanted to go. That's the way it did go. And Garnacho said afterwards, it's hard for everyone. The season was, swear word, both now losing the final tonight and in the league. where we didn't beat anyone. That's the truth. Up until the final, I've played every round, and today to play 20 minutes, I don't know. I'm going to try and enjoy the summer and see what happens after. It seems like the deals about him potentially leaving, I think those wheels are already put in motion now. Whether he will play against Aston Villa on Sunday, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe he'll get the chance to say goodbye to the Old Trafford crowd, potentially. But who knows? I think United really need to use this summer, and especially the early weeks of the summer, to make, especially like all of these big decisions that they have to make in terms of outgoings and these kinds of things, for when they get back for the start of preseason, probably in early July or whatever. A lot of this groundwork has got to be done. All of the difficult decisions that they've taken over the course of the last 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, all of the staff that have been let go, the painful, awful decisions that they have made, which they are kind of justifying as necessary for the football club's survival in the long term. All of that is that can't continually be a theme throughout every season. I think there's another round of cuts that are going on now, and it's just making the mood for around the football club absolutely terrible, and that's reflecting on the pitch. The players are doubting themselves. I think Luke Shaw and some things that he said after the final the other night to Andy Mitten was so alarming, so incredibly alarming. So United have a hell of a lot of work to do. They've got to bring players in, but I think it's as important this summer to try and completely you need a massive turnover. You need a massive turnover of players here. And what you need to do as well is get some money in to be able to start reinvesting in the team. And I've on social media at @_ Scott Saunders, you can follow me as well, TikTok, Instagram, and X as well. On X, earlier today, I was looking at we all know the conversation about PSR and how incredibly difficult the position is for Manchester United at the moment, how little wiggle room that they have in PSR. And obviously, we all know the stories about Bruno Fernandes at the moment. Whether there's any developments on that today, I'm not entirely sure. But we all know that there is speculation around the Al Hilal's bid for Bruno Fernandes and the deadline. And I did do an episode on that in the last episode of the last video on this channel. And the last episode in the audio feeds as well was on Bruno Fernandes and those stories that they could come to fruition. Let's be real. They really could. United they're terrible sellers. United are absolutely terrible sellers. And they have to be very good sellers this year for me. They absolutely have to be, because they need to start making, they need to improve their cash position to start with. We know that they have like 300 million quid worth of outstanding transfer fees that they're going to need to pay off at some point soon. I'm not entirely sure of the dates. I don't have them to hand. But we also know that they need massive investment as well. And they have so little headroom in PSR at the moment that it's like in January, it was kind of a one in, one out, and they were very much on the line. They feel like they have a bit of wiggle room to go and sign Matheus Cunha, and they can basically stagger that fee over, I think it's going to be about 3 years or something like that, and amortize the actual fee on their books over the course of his contract. So, but they don't have the ability at the moment, in my opinion, to aggressively go after a rebuild in one summer. They don't have it. So Garnacho, I mentioned just now, they're wanting £60 million for him. Whether they'll get that, I don't know. But there's certainly, I'm sure that there'll be interest, because you can't really doubt. I think he's got over 20 or over 20 goals and assists in all comps this season. For a player who's 20 years old, or whatever he is, 19, 20 years old, that's still a really good output in a team that is fundamentally failing and awful, which is what this Manchester United team is. United have seen Scott McTominay won Serie A last night and scored a flying volley to put Napoli on their way to winning the league. Like 1 year after he left Manchester United, and everybody was looking at Scott McTominay, or most people, a large chunk of people were looking at Scott McTominay last year and getting on him for not being good enough in possession. We're just misprofiling him. Antony has gone out and is scoring amazing goals for Betis and is in a European final with them. There's some common theme within Manchester United that means these players are not getting the best out of themselves, and it's not an environment that is conducive to high quality and good output. And when players leave, you kind of have that weight off your shoulders, and you're able to express yourself again in a different environment. And invariably, United's players that they're selling are showing that they are good players. So I think United need to be, I know they're in a difficult position financially, but they need to be really harsh sellers and really, really good at getting transfer fees back in, because they need to reinvest that in the team, and the money needs to go different places. So really important to do that. They're looking at, like, maybe this will change over the course of the summer, but they're looking at 60 odd million quid as per my understanding from what I've seen over the last few weeks. They want 60 million pounds for Alejandro Garnacho. You'd think there would be interest from, whether there's still interest from Chelsea, who knows? Napoli, whether they revisit, who knows? Atletico Madrid have been linked as well. And whether they come back in, who knows? But there could be some other clubs. And the thing is, with these players that have gone to other leagues, left Manchester United and shown, hey, we're actually good players, it actually helps United it helps their case. It says, look, that they didn't perform well here, but at the same time, this player has gone here and shows that he can actually be really, really be an asset to your team. So that's proof that not all these players are, I don't know, it's not proof that all these players are complete duds. And Garnacho's had really, really good spells, and his output definitely needs improving, obviously. And I think his decision-making definitely needs improving, but there's a hell of a lot of players in that team that are better than they're showing. It's just they might not be able to find that maximizing. They might not be able to maximize their potential in a Manchester United shirt, and that's just the way that it is. And United need to recognize that and try and rip up the culture that they have created somehow, that has been allowed to foster, and start again. Bring new players in. They don't have the wiggle room to do that at the moment. But if they were to get, say, 50, I think Ronnie said earlier, 50 million, 55 million quid for Garnacho, I do think that's a half decent deal, because that money, 40 million for Marcus Rashford, potentially. I know Barcelona, Deco and Hansi Flick, I think, have said things on Marcus Rashford in the last few days, which have confirmed that they do have some interest in him. And Marcus Rashford, I think if he could pick any club in the world to join after leaving Manchester United, he'd pick Barcelona. So think of that there. That's two academy players that, if they get the transfer fees that they're looking for, that's £100 million pure profit for them to bank. The Bruno Fernandes conversation. Manchester United are already, Bruno Fernandes has been at United for 5 years, and I think they would have gone a hell of a long way, if not all the way, to have amortizing the entirety of the transfer fee that it cost to bring him to United over the last 5 years. So that means his book value is essentially close to zero. So every £1 million that they make, let's say it is £100 million and Bruno Fernandes leaves, that again is pure profit that they can put on the books. That will create, as I've said on social media earlier today, that's going to create more wiggle room for United to further go ahead with the cleanse of the culture that they need to do. It might mean, for example, that they can take a hit on, let's say, I think Rasmus Højlund's book value at the moment is about 40 million quid. Maybe they can come down on that because they know that they need to get him out and get rid of him. Maybe it helps their negotiating position. Maybe, look, if they look at the thing that Luke Shaw said the other day, and I haven't been able to keep up with the comments, but what Luke Shaw had said the other day about him doubting whether, him telling the players at Manchester United that they're not sure, they should really consider whether they think they're good enough to play for Manchester United. That's a senior player in this United first team who is saying that to other players. That is self-doubt. And I'm not blaming Luke Shaw for this, because Luke Shaw's been at United for 11 years and has probably, we've seen, how many managers has Luke Shaw seen? He's seen the gradual decline to the point that United are at now. He's been there for all of it, apart from the first season. Like it said here, I think Lowe said again, that Shaw interview, I do wonder if it was all post-match emotional talk, or if he takes a mutual termination of the contract or something. And like what I was talking about there, in terms of PSR strategy and creating wiggle room by sales that are potentially unpopular, it might give United more leverage in order to be able to do things like that in terms of contract terminations. And I'm speculating here, I'm completely talking from my own opinions, this kind of thing. But it might allow United to be a little bit more aggressive with what they want to do, because they need simply to uh, get this turned around as quickly as possible and change the attitude and change the output on the pitch. And I think there's so much talk about Ruben Amorim's system. So much talk about, will the system work? Will the system work? Will these players, will they be able to play in it? It's, to me, it's about the system, yes. And I think there are certain positions which are specialist positions, like the wing back positions and the 10 positions. And you need active central midfielders. You need players at centre back on either side who can bring the ball out. But generally, they're ball playing defenders nowadays. And I think your ideal centre back is going to be able to do everything anyway. You know, they need to be quick. They need to be strong. They need to be good on the ball. That's just what a centre back is nowadays. So as much as there are some positions in this team that are specialist positions, I think personally, for me, the downfall in this Ruben Amorim system is that they don't have the profiles in terms of like physicality, technical ability, speed, strength. That's why United are failing in the Premier League. It might be about the system and adjusting to the system, but at the same time, you need players who are able to meet the demands of Premier League football. United don't really have them. They don't have the energy to play at high intensity for long periods of time in Premier League football. And there might be some players who are able to do that, but generally, United, you're not seeing the best of this Ruben Amorim team at the moment because the players just, they don't really fit. And fundamental change needs to happen. I personally think you need to see about probably 5-6 new players around that first team next season. We'll see how aggressive United are in the transfer market, but I think it's just as important to be able to say that X player is out, X player is out. And these clear outs that United have kind of done in the past, they've never, ever done it properly. Never done it properly. And I think ruthlessness is something that has just not been within Manchester United over the past few years. Ruben Amorim, for me, and why I still think that he is completely the right guy for this, even though I looked at the final the other day and I thought that you've made some mistakes there. I think he reacted far too late with his subs. What he's saying about how the team was better on the night, I don't necessarily agree with that. But at the same time, what United need is for somebody to get a grip of this squad and get a grip of this team. And as a collective, they need to strip it back and rebuild it with the right attitude, the right physicality, the right technical levels. All of these things are the most important things to start with. You need to find players to play the system, but United also need to do a good job of finding the players that have that physicality, technicality, and ability to play in the Premier League. But if Ruben Amorim doesn't work, they need to be able to play in a different system if Ruben Amorim ends up leaving. It's about the actual traits in the players and not the positions that they play in, for me, more than anything. Dawn Marie says, I love how people insult Jim Ratcliffe but are still polite enough to call him sir, which is funny. There's been a fair few comments. Thanks, everyone. I'm not ever going to be able to get through all these, but I really, really do appreciate. Let's see. Just wanted to say regarding the channel, I've been a fan since the early days. I miss Rob too. It's fantastic you're keeping this channel going. Never too high, never too low. Rebuild United. Thanks so much. Yeah, it's incredibly difficult. It is. And it's taken me a while to be able to have the confidence and the courage to be able to just come back and actually do this on my own, like, speaking to a camera as comments are rolling in. But I think I'm getting better, and I think I definitely retain that never too high, never too low. And at this point in time, United are at their lowest ebb that I have ever seen in my entire life. So I think at this time, while everybody wants to tear their hair out and everyone's angry, and it's the worst moment that I think that we have ever seen in a generation for Manchester United, it is really important that you do keep a level head, and that while some decisions that look, if Bruno Fernandes goes, I'll be incredibly I'll be down about it, but there's a greater good here, and the priority should be, no matter how much you like certain individual players and how much they contribute to the team is not performing on the whole. That is ultimately the most important thing. Hey, Corey. Haven't spoke for a while, mate. Nice to see you. And just looking through some more comments. It's difficult to... Jeff says, Scott, man, I'm happy for him. He's enjoying the football. God, guys, honestly. Thanks so much for the comments. If you haven't liked the stream already, I see that the concurrence versus the likes are a bit off. So please like the stream if you haven't already and get it pushed out to more people. Look, I came in, I kind of saw the news and I thought I'll jump on and I'll go live straight away just to see if people actually want to jump on, because I didn't think that this news actually, given Twitter was down. I'm not sure whether it's back now. Maybe didn't get across. It's still not down. It's still down. Look, I didn't really come in with much more of a plan to talk about Garnacho, but I think on him, it's a big shame. It really is. I don't think anybody... No, you can rate him, you can't, and this kind of thing. But the fact is, he came through United Academy. He won the Youth Cup with United. He has shown that he has a knack for delivering in the big moments. Scored in the FA Cup final last year. Scored against, really good teams. Has made an impact in big matches. And ultimately, I think the fact that he got played so frequently, so young, has probably elevated him in his mind to a level where he feels like he should be playing every week. And then you get maybe comments coming out like that saying that he feels like he should be playing. And 19, 20 years old, the problem the United have really is that they put in a lot of this stock in players who are quite young and maybe are not at the levels yet to deliver to their prime levels every single week. Yeah. Come on, guys, hit the like button, says Fred. Ronnie says, please do more lives. If you want me to do more lives, maybe I will. To give you some insight, I usually do lives through StreamYard, but there's been some difficulty with email addresses, this kind of thing, so I can't actually stream through the client I would prefer to use, and I do all my streams through, so I'm doing this direct through YouTube. For people who don't do that, then this maybe doesn't mean much difference to you, but it's just a little bit more difficult to have everything in front of you and kind of understand what you're doing. Look, I think, like I say, it's a shame for Garnacho, but what United are having to get to at this point is... I wrote a few players down yesterday, and I could potentially see... I think I said a few months ago that I could easily see 10 to 12 players leaving United in one summer. Like, easily. And I've not even written all these down yet, but look, I've got a few players down here. You can see Rasmus Højlund going. Look, if Bruno Fernandes goes for 100 million quid, and I'm sure we'll find that out at some point, whether he's actually going to or not, then that'll be a conversation to cross when we come to it and when something happens. But Garnacho, Rashford, Jadon Sancho, he might end up coming back to United and they might have to shift him. Christian Eriksen, Victor Lindelof, Johnny Evans all leaving on free transfers. You got Rasmus Højlund. Do you think Andre Onana will be here next season? For me, I look at the United team at the moment and I look at all of the lack of confidence that his hesitancy or his mistakes leave in that defense. And I think you have to address that with urgency. To me, Altay Bayındır, it's been speculated that he's going to leave as well. Terrell Malacia is out on loan. He will probably leave on a permanent deal. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Malacia as well is 11. I haven't even got all of the names down. So Tom Heaton as well. I think he might end up staying, but we'll see. But with United being out of Europe, there's been this whole thing over the last few days of, oh, well, United are not in the Champions League, so that actually is a blessing in disguise. And then I'm seeing that some people are saying you can't say that because United should always be in Europe. I understand both sides of the argument, but that's the outcome at the end of the day. And you have to you drive yourself insane if you don't see positives in every situation. So what United can do now is they can aggressively go after this cleanse, to me. If they're bringing in money through players who don't have too much book value that they don't see as part of their plans in the long term, they can potentially go and create some wiggle room to reinvest and to go through that revolution. It's more revolution for me than evolution. That's completely necessary. That might be the most important thing to do because they don't need as big a squad. I think I looked at their list yesterday, their squad list of players that are in the first team at the moment. There's 27 players. That's not including the ones that are out on loan. They don't need that many players. So I don't know what United's squad size will end up being, but let's say you could maybe say 20, potentially 18 to 20, and you have some room for young players, like maybe 5 players out of the academy to come in and be on the fringes, or like Harry Amash. I was thinking earlier, Harry Amash and Aiden Heaven should absolutely have a lot more first team football next season, just simply because United are not in Europe. I think it's good to get them alongside other players in the first team. Lisandro Martinez is out for a good time, so maybe Aiden Heaven can get a real good crack at the start of next season in that left centre-back position where he's shown that he's actually really good. Brenda, hey, I'm still watching your podcast, Scott. Good job from Rob's mom. Thanks so much. I hope you're doing okay, and really appreciate the message. Really appreciate the support. I'm still trying to go. I'm still trying to do it. Still trying to go. It's a difficult, really hard time for United at the moment, though, isn't it? But I really appreciate the support. Corey says never too high, never too low, and yeah, that's what I'm going to try and get across over the course of the summer. I think because there's going to be some difficult moments. Are we going to see you in Atlanta? I don't think so. Not this year. I doubt it. Let's see. Fred says, "Do you think it'll all kick off next week regarding ins and outs, regarding transfers?" Yes. Maybe even tomorrow. Like I said on the last pod that will Bruno play tomorrow? He probably will, but you'll probably get some kind of understanding through his emotion on the day that if he breaks down in tears at the end of the game, you're probably going to get some indication. And I think United are flying out to the other side of the world pretty soon after that game. So if Bruno Fernandes is wanted by Al Hilal in time for the Club World Cup, and they've given him a deadline of like next week to make that decision, will he even go on that tour? Grace Sheridan says, first time watching, can you speak about the revisionism in this fan base? Bring back Anthony, McTominay, Wan-Bissaka, Rashford, etc., just because we're really bad at the moment and they've gone on to do well. Yes, I can. I will talk about that. Thank you very much. I agree. It is. It's really hard because I look at the players that United have at the moment, and that list of players that I just talked about that could potentially leave this summer, and I didn't even mention everybody. All of these players, maybe they're not the right fit at Manchester United. And Bruno aside, I think you can, like most people, I think would probably love to see him stay. I'm very much in that camp, and I think that what he has done for Manchester United over the past 5 years or so has been absolutely massive. I think his status is sealed, regardless of whether he leaves or stays. But I think in his case at the moment, it's very much this deal is simply too good to turn down. And maybe I have a gut feeling personally that I think he'll end up going. But all of those players that you just listed there, Wan-Bissaka, McTominay, Anthony, Rashford, etc., there is revisionism, yes. I think Rashford's, especially his the way that he was playing at Aston Villa, he looked like he was a lot more free. He looked like he had a bit of a weight off his shoulders, and I think he did okay at Aston Villa, but he scored more goals for Manchester United this season than Aston Villa, So there's a different pressure. And I'm not saying all these players that you've listed there in terms of Anthony and McTominay especially, I'm not saying that they're bad players. And there was definitely conversations about those guys being bad players at the time. But it's just about, I personally think that there is some kind of thing inside Manchester United that nobody can recognize or decipher exactly what it is if they're outside the club, but maybe you feel it inside. There's a defeatist attitude, I think. And Luke Shaw's interview the other day really indicated to me that, God, there is something wrong. There is really something wrong inside that football club. And that something needs to be absolutely addressed and changed. It's something inside Manchester United is causing these players that you just listed there, Wan-Bissaka, McTominay, Anthony, to not show their best selves at Manchester United. It could be the size of the club. It could be the fact that everybody feels pressure to lift the club back up. And then they go to other places and they show that it can be a mix of things. Elanga and Gomez, exactly as well. Exactly the same. It's different styles of play. It's attitudes. It's the way that they're used in certain systems. In Elanga's case, for example, if he's playing for Nottingham Forest now, he's had a really good season. If Manchester United played the way that Nuno's Nottingham Forest play all season, then maybe Anthony Elanga would have been okay at Manchester United. Maybe. But at the same time, you can't tell me that if Nuno was in charge of Manchester United and playing with Anthony Elanga in the position that he's playing, and this was Manchester United, people would be complaining about the style of play. Is this? And if you put him in a front foot team, for example, I don't know if you get the same version of Anthony Elanga. There's lots of different reasons. And it happens with a lot of players. But ultimately, right, the most important thing for Manchester United is what happens at Manchester United. If players leave and they go to another club and they absolutely smash it, great. That's absolutely fantastic. As long as United get the right deal for them, they need to go and correct whatever this thing is that is holding the club back. And I feel like there's a ruthless streak that is going on inside Manchester United at the moment that has started with the staff, that they're looking at the numbers and they're looking at cutting jobs, and it's awful. It's absolutely terrible. But at the same time, it kind of gives you, or gives me, the impression that I think the days of spending too much money or having too many players or too many roles within the company and within the club, it's time to strip it back. And there's people inside the club that have looked at the numbers and have done their calculations, and they feel like this is the right decision. It's ultimately led to this terrible, feeling inside the club. And again, like, my heart goes out to everybody who's been affected in those cuts, because it's not a nice experience. But that ruthlessness, it feels like, is being felt throughout the entire club, and we haven't been able to see that ruthlessness go through the actual playing staff because we've been in season and inside a transfer window. I think with that ruthlessness that we've seen, it'll be a test to see if they're as ruthless as Amorim essentially telling Garnacho. Just that if you're joining a bit late here, this is David Ornstein has reported that Ruben Amorim has told his Manchester United squad he will remain in charge next season, and told Garnacho to find a new club. So that's the story that I'm kind of running with here, and that I'm going. The reason for this video, anyway, it is that kind of indicates to me that move already, that there is some kind of ruthless streak that is going to come through the playing squad over the course of the summer. We'll only get to know that by what their actions are. And if they only end up selling 6 players or something like that, is that going to be enough? They're going to need to revolutionize this team for me and get a group of players in who are willing to fight forever. Like, can you honestly say, as much as I don't think the players have down tools this season, where there have been times in the past where you could maybe accuse them of doing that, I don't think they've done that, but I equally don't think that they fight for every ball like they should either. And the Ruben Amorim team generally needs to fight for every ball like it's the last ball that they'll ever fight for. That's the most important thing. Would love it if you'd one day create some channel merch using the never too high, never too low slogan. I, for one, will buy. Yeah, just putting some seeds in my head there. Maybe I'll end up doing that. Dawn Marie says, I think Bruno will give it another season to support Amorim, then he'll go. We'll see very soon, I guess. Potentially, yes. I think that's absolutely a possibility at the moment. But I think the money that is on the table for United at the moment will go so far to, I think, within the club, and just this is my opinion, that money can make a hell of a difference. And that is the message that's going around. Grace Sheridan says, would you get rid of Casemiro or keep him for his final season? I was thinking about this earlier today, actually. He's the highest earner, or one of the 2 highest earners at Manchester United. I think he's the highest earner, actually. If Rashford comes back, then he'll be among them as well. To me, I look at the wage bill and I think you've got to try and get your top earners off. I've been so super impressed with Casemiro and the way that he has reacted to, being out of the team under Ruben Amorim in the first place, and the way that he has performed since he's been reintroduced to the team. But I think Ruben Amorim, in his style, has been making some concessions in order to play Casemiro because he can't cover the ground that he wants a central midfielder to cover. I think that's just the way that it is. So maybe I talked about earlier, United potentially selling players with no book value for maximum PSR profit, that they could then have a little bit more wiggle room to take lower fees for players or to come to agreements to end contracts early, this kind of thing. I don't know. Will that happen? I don't know. But personally, I think United should still try and move him on. As much as I think he's got a lot of positives in terms of the attitude that he has, the winning mentality, this kind of thing. I think you can get you need to see it in your actions and you need to see it in how much ground you cover, this kind of thing. And I think United aren't in the Champions League next season. I think the most important thing here is to get the books in order and to get the team's playing style in order and as far as you can get it in terms of developing into the finalized playing style as quickly as possible. I don't know how they'll end up doing that, but I think for me, there's lots of positions that need addressing. Goalkeeper, potentially a right wing back as well. You might need 2 central midfielders. That's like 4 players. And then you're looking at strikers and 10s, this kind of thing. That's in an ideal world. I'll probably name 7, 8 players there. They don't all have to be 80, 60 million pound signings, but you can find different players on, if there's players going on free transfers, or if there's a young player you can pick up for a few million quid that can come and do what Aiden Heaven has done, for example, then that is the way that you end up getting there quicker. This is a great comment here. I had a theory from Ranabir again. I had a theory about the cultural problem, and I believe it's a function of the types of contracts given by the pre-Ineos regime. Too many legal stipulations giving the players power. I completely agree with that. Like I said this the other day, why are Manchester United's players incentivized on qualifying for the Champions League? Why do those contracts jump by 25% if they qualify for the Champions League? You know? Liverpool have had a great bunch of success over the past few years because they incentivize player contracts based on performance. And United do it based on what competition that they're in, and there's lots of reasons, lots of cultural problems. The wages are too high as well. But I think, look, there's a really thank you so much for the comments, everyone. It's too much for me to keep up with, but I really appreciate it. And I think I'll call it there just for today and end the stream. Hopefully you've been able to hear me okay and everything's been fine. I've only just noticed now that the sound bar at the bottom isn't too good, but hopefully that's come across okay. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching, and please subscribe. Please like the video already if you've not done so on your way out. Please do. Please leave a comment under the video itself. And if you want me to do more of these, I can potentially do more of these over the course of the summer. I'll just have to find a different way of doing it with the software, or I'll get used to this one. But I really appreciate the support. Really appreciate you joining the stream today. First time I've done a live in forever. So thanks very much. And subscribe to the channel. Subscribe on audio as well, Apple and Spotify. This should be out on Apple and Spotify pretty soon. And I'll see you soon, everyone. It's going to be a busy summer ahead. So we'll see what happens at Manchester United. But it seems like Alejandro Garnacho will not be a part of that future for much longer. Until next time, everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See you soon.